Modern software applications provide solutions to very complex problems, and it is no longer possible for human developers, software engineers and programmers to just sit on a computer and start coding. They use different methods, tools, and best practices to develop very complex softwares, and as a result, we need to analyze and study the process of development of software applications. For that purpose, we can use the concept of assessments, which are normally carried out by independent assessors on a developer site, on an organization which develops software. That's a typical scenario of conducting an assessment. However, in-house assessments are also common. That means that an organization's team assesses or performs an assessment of that organization itself. So we can say that assessments can be conducted both in-house and by independent assessors. So I guess you've realized the topic of today's discussion is assessments, particularly software process assessments, because we are talking about software in the context of process assessments. But that was the original idea, that software and software assessments are conducted both by independent assessors as well as by assessor teams within the organization. Formal software assessments appear to have originated from within the IBM Corporation, and that was in early 1970s. So they have been practiced in use for some time now. An assessment tries to or attempts to find all the strengths and weaknesses associated with software or with the process with which it is being conducted on. So the primary goal of software process assessments is to gather information that is qualitative information about practices, about methods, tool suites, and organizational structures that are used in the process of developing software. Some assessors also gather information about ergonomic office space, about other factors which are related to the development of the process. So all of these things are important, which make the development process easier for professionals and make them comfortable within the environment. Since software has become a worldwide business, and the growing number of economies are dependent on the use of computer applications, the importance of developing software in a more efficient and effective way is growing every day. So it is very important that we as an industry and we as a software organization and we as individual software professionals improve our way of or our process of developing software applications. However, in order for us to do that, be able to understand where we stand, that is, what are our weaknesses and what are our strengths, and an assessment provides that kind of information. So in other words, we can say that software assessment data is normally gathered by means of structured interviews and managers and with technical personnel, and that provides a sort of the current status as to where that organization stands with respect to the use of best practices, with respect to the use of tools, with respect to the use of different methodologies and organizational structures. Typically, this kind of information, this kind of data, is collected by the use of scripts and questionnaires. There are a number of assessment approaches, and we'll talk about them a little later, but most of them use the forms, that is scripts, or have developed structured as well as unstructured interviews with the project management, with the technical staff in the organizations which are being assessed for software. In it, both the project management side as well as the process management issues and some other issues which I mentioned, like ergonomics and office space and some organizations actually gather information about the salary structures and similar side factors, I would say, which affect the performance of development of software, because the idea is for the professionals to be happy when they're doing their work and satisfied when they're doing their work, and the side factors or additional factors contribute a lot to that goal, which is to have satisfied professionals working in a software organization. There are a number of methods, as I said, which can be used for performing software assessments. They are, for example, there's the SPR assessment method, the Software Engineering Institute's assessment method, the ISO assessment method, and there's the SPICE method, TIC IT assessment method. Then there is Trillium and Howard Rubin Associates assessment method, and Gartner Group's assessment method. So there are a number of process assessment methodologies, and any one of them can be used to gauge the current status of the strengths and weaknesses of an organization which develops software. Now, this sort of assessments can be done for a number of software areas, can be done for example, quality assurance, and since we're talking about process assessments, we'll stick to that discussion. One thing that I would like to convey early on is that a software process assessment is somewhat equivalent to undergoing an annual medical examination. The annual medical or physical examination is not intended to cure any specific disease. And the main purpose of the annual physical examination or annual medical examination is to find about the health of the patient. If the physical examination finds any serious problem, then the physician can prescribe the therapy program. However, the examination itself is performed for diagnostic purposes only and not for therapeutic purposes, and that's a very important but often misunderstood concept, that this concept can be often overlooked by those software organizations or software clients which think that by performing an assessment they will be able to cure anything without having to initiate the therapeutic program in software process assessment. We'll talk about that a little later. However, this analogy or this concept and this comparison has to be fully understood. The purpose of conducting a software process assessment is to find out about what are the weaknesses as well as the strengths of an organization with respect to its software processes. However, it is possible that many companies regard that assessment as an end in itself rather than a means to an end, and the end ultimately is to improve software quality and productivity and efficiency and to cure specific problems that plague that software development process. However, assessments by themselves will not improve software quality or productivity or cure any specific problems that are found. For that, that particular organization has to institute or initiate a therapeutic program which is known as software process improvement program. But without having done an assessment, many problems will remain invisible, and the organization will not know where to focus on without having done an assessment. So assessment should be viewed as nothing more than annual checkups to ensure that no new problems have occurred. और इसी तरह असेसमेंट का एक ये बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज है कि जो आपने लास्ट असेसमेंट की थी उसमें जिन डिफेक्ट्स को, जिन प्रॉब्लम्स को आइडेंटिफाई किया गया था, उनको रिमूव करने के लिए जो प्रोग्रेस है उसको भी आप मॉनिटर करते हैं. तो इन अदर वर्ड्स हम कह सकते हैं कि असेसमेंट जो है वो सिर्फ एक वन टाइम एफर्ट नहीं है, बल्कि वन टाइम एक्सरसाइज नहीं है, बट इट इज़ कंडक्टेड ऑन पीरियोडिक इंटरवल्स. जब आप इनिशियली किसी चीज़ को, किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की प्रोसेसेस के स्टेटस को मेजर करना चाहते हैं तो आप एक असेसमेंट कंडक्ट करते हैं, और फिर अगर उसके नतीजे में आप एक इम्प्रूवमेंट प्रोग्राम इनिशिएट करते हैं तो उस इम्प्रूवमेंट प्रोग्राम के रिज़ल्ट्स को मॉनिटर करने के लिए, उन रिज़ल्ट्स को असेस करने के लिए एक और असेसमेंट कंडक्ट की जाती है, और उससे आपको जो आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन या आपके प्रोजेक्ट या आपकी प्रोसेसेस की जो हेल्थ है उसके बारे में एक और चेकअप की सूरत में आपको लेटेस्ट और करंट डाटा मिलता है. जैसे मैंने पहले भी बताया था कि असेसमेंट्स जो हैं ये किसी भी पर्टिकुलर एरिया में की जा सकती हैं, और जब भी आप किसी सॉफ्टवेयर की बात करते हैं तो सॉफ्टवेयर, जैसा मैंने शुरू में कहा था कि इज़ ए वेरी कॉम्प्लेक्स थिंग. इट्स ए कलेक्शन ऑफ कॉम्प्लेक्स आर्टिफैक्ट्स, और उन तमाम चीज़ों को इकट्ठा करने और सॉफ्टवेयर को बनाने में बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स इन्वॉल्व हैं. अगर आप थॉरली देखें तो द नंबर ऑफ फैक्टर्स रन्स इनटू हंड्रेड्स. ऑब्वियसली हर फैक्टर की वो इम्पोर्टेंस नहीं है. मसलन अगर मैं एक छोटी सी मिसाल दूं कि ऐसा सॉफ्टवेयर जिसमें आउटसोर्सिंग की ज़रूरत नहीं है, तो जो आउटसोर्सिंग से मुतल्लिक फैक्टर्स हैं, सॉफ्टवेयर की क्वालिटी के, सॉफ्टवेयर की प्रोडक्टिविटी के, सॉफ्टवेयर की एफिशिएंसी के और सॉफ्टवेयर के प्रोसेस के, वो एप्लीकेबल नहीं होंगे. तो हर प्रोजेक्ट में तमाम फैक्टर्स प्रोडक्टिविटी के, क्वालिटी के अफेक्ट नहीं हो रहे होते. टिपिकली आप देखें तो हर प्रोजेक्ट में 15, 20, 25 फैक्टर्स ऐसे हैं जो कि जनरली एक प्रोजेक्ट को अफेक्ट कर रहे होते हैं. और दिस इज़ रिपोर्टेड इन लिटरेचर, क्योंकि बहुत सारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस ने, बहुत सारे असेसर कंपनीज़ ने अपने प्रोजेक्ट्स को स्टडी करके ये हमें इंफॉर्मेशन जो है ये लिटरेचर में रिपोर्ट की है. तो दीज फैक्टर्स आर कलेक्टेड फ्रॉम प्रोजेक्ट्स रेंजिंग फ्रॉम very simple desktop applications to very complex military software to information system. These include commercial software, these include outsourced projects, और इस तरह और बहुत सारे projects को जब आप एक large data set को compare करते हैं, उनको study करते हैं, तो you develop a list of factors जो कि हम major topics भी कह सकते हैं that are covered from the software process assessments perspective. तो इन 250 फैक्टर्स को, और जैसा कि मैंने कहा कि हर प्रोजेक्ट में करीबन 20-25 फैक्टर्स ऐसे होते हैं जो कि डायरेक्टली इन्फ्लुएंस कर रहे होते हैं, इम्पेक्ट कर रहे होते हैं उस प्रोजेक्ट की प्रोडक्टिविटी और क्वालिटी को, उनको हम ब्रॉडली स्पीकिंग 10 बड़े की प्रोसेस एरियाज़ में डिफ़ाइन कर सकते हैं, ये कैटेगराइज कर सकते हैं. और मुख्तलिफ जो असेसमेंट मेथड्स हैं उन्होंने इसी तरह उसको कैटेगराइज किया, हर एक की अपनी असेसमेंट मेथोडोलॉजी है, लेकिन ब्रॉडली स्पीकिंग आप इन 10 की प्रोसेस एरियाज़ के ऊपर आपको फोकस करना पड़ता है फॉर असेसमेंट पर्पसेस. दे आर नॉट, जैसे मैंने बताया कि दे आर नॉट specific to any one assessment approach, but they are topics examined by several forms of assessments because they have very significant impact on software project schedules, productivity and quality levels. और इन्हीं चीज़ों को आपने बेसिकली देखना होता है कि सॉफ्टवेयर की आपने प्रोडक्टिविटी कैसी है आपकी टीम की, क्वालिटी लेवल्स आप इम्प्रूव कर रहे हैं कि नहीं, और आर यू डिलीवरिंग ऑन टाइम. तो ये सारी चीज़ें चूँकि रिलेटेड हैं, इसलिए जो प्रोसेस एरियाज़ हैं वो भी इन्हीं फैक्टर्स के और या इन्हीं टॉपिक्स के अराउंड आपको लिटरेचर में मिलेंगे. अब हम उनकी प्रोसेस एरियाज़ के ऊपर थोड़ी सी बात करते हैं. सबसे पहले जैसा कि आप गेस कर सकते हैं, प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट के मेथड्स हैं जिसमें मसलन एस्टिमेशन है. अब एस्टिमेशन आपके सॉफ्टवेयर की स्केड्यूल्स को डिटरमिन करने के लिए, सॉफ्टवेयर के साइज़ को डिटरमिन करने के लिए, सॉफ्टवेयर की कॉस्ट को डिटरमिन करने के लिए बहुत ही इम्पॉर्टेंट है. और फिर जितनी बेहतर एस्टिमेशन होगी उतनी रियलिस्टिक कॉस्ट्स और रियलिस्टिक स्केड्यूल्स और रियलिस्टिक एस्टिमेट ऑफ सोर्सेज हमारे पास आ सकता है. तो प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट में एस्टिमेशन एक ऐसी टेक्निक है या एक ऐसी टॉपिक है जिसके ऊपर बहुत ज़्यादा फोकस करने की ज़रूरत है सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को. और इसी तरह उनके जो असेसमेंट है उसमें भी एस्टिमेशन के तरीक़ाकार को कैसे एस्टिमेट करते हैं, उनके रिज़ल्ट्स क्या होते हैं, हाउ आर दे डूइंग बेटर इन लेटर प्रोजेक्ट्स, या उनकी एस्टिमेशन टेक्निक्स के ऊपर फोकस नहीं है. तो असेसमेंट्स के लिहाज से जो असेसर्स हैं उनको इस टॉपिक के ऊपर बहुत तवज्जो से असेसमेंट करनी चाहिए. और ये वो एरियाज़ हैं जहाँ दे कैन फाइंड लॉट ऑफ मीट टू विद वी रिकमेंडेशंस के जी आपकी ये वीकनेसेस हैं, ये स्ट्रेंथ्स हैं. दूसरा की प्रोसेस एरिया रिक्वायरमेंट्स गैदरिंग एंड एनालिसिस मेथड्स है. टेक्निकली स्पीकिंग रिक्वायरमेंट्स डेवलपमेंट और रिक्वायरमेंट्स गैदरिंग, फिर उनको एनालाइज करना, फिर उनको कैटेगराइज करना, क्लासीफाई करना, और फिर उनको डॉक्यूमेंट करना, फिर उनमें ट्रेसेबिलिटी को मेंटेन करना, और रिक्वायरमेंट्स की फिजिबिलिटी को देखना, इन वैलिडेट करना, ये एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव सब्जेक्ट है. और बड़े लार्ज प्रोजेक्ट्स it is very important to conduct these activities in a very organized, very creative manner. Otherwise आपकी जो requirements अगर सही तरह से develop नहीं होती तो फिर उसके जो impact है, इसका जो negative impact है, वो later life cycle activities में especially design और डेवलपमेंट पे और अल्टीमेटली टेस्टिंग में बहुत नेगेटिव होगा. तो ये एक एरिया है जिसके ऊपर असेसर्स को और असेसमेंट मेथोडोलॉजीज़ का बहुत फोकस होता है. फिर डिज़ाइन एंड स्पेसिफिकेशन मेथड्स हैं, इनके ऊपर भी अगेन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. लॉट ऑफ मेथोडोलॉजीज़ आर बीइंग यूज्ड to model and to communicate design decisions and to work out all the different design issues that are present in any complex software application. और ये सारी वो चीज़ें हैं जो कि प्रॉब्लम डोमेन से आती हैं. और फिर when you're starting the design activity, so you're basically entering into the solution space. तो solution में जब आप आते हैं तो there is a possibility of adding those things which do not exist in the problem domain. तो यहाँ बहुत careful रहना पड़ेगा as far as the designer's work and designer's skills are concerned. The next key process area are coding methods. Again, no one would disagree that they are the probably most important in the sense that you're finally building the system. तो कोडिंग मेथड्स के ऊपर जो असेसमेंट करने वाली टीम्स हैं उनको बहुत फोकस करना चाहिए, और वो करती हैं टू डिटरमिन हाउ द कोडिंग प्रैक्टिसेस are followed, and lot of best practices are reported in the literature. तो ये कोई इतना complex काम नहीं है to evaluate coding practices or assess coding practices in coding methods. The next is reusability methods. Reusability is such a interesting yet controversial topic that if it is used, then assessment teams or assessor teams have to be very careful in determining how reusability is being inducted into the overall development approach, and how reusability is benefiting the overall development approach or development process. Because reusability is a double-edged sword in terms of the fact that if done properly, it can increase productivity by many times. However, if it is not done properly, it increases the negative value of productivity very sharply. So you have to be very careful. That is, the assessors have to be very careful, and also the development team has to be very careful when applying reusability as a development philosophy. The next is change control methods. Again, there's no controversy here vis-a-vis applying change control methods. However, the assessors should know and should evaluate the application of change control methods because for large projects these can really create some serious trouble for the developers. Then there is user documentation methods, which is followed by the pre-test defect removal methods such as inspections. Inspections have proven to be a very useful mechanism for finding defects, and the cost of properly conducting inspections and the advantages or the benefits certainly outweigh the testing only approach to software defect removal strategies or defect removal approaches. So if conducted as planned and as intended, inspections are extremely useful in eliminating defects from software artifacts, and there can be a number of software products, including the design, including the requirements model, and so forth. The next is testing methods and tools, and assessors need to keep a vigilant eye on this area also. Then the final is maintenance methods and tools, which will tell you how you are keeping up with the newer and later demands of the clients, and how you can how efficiently and how quickly you are going to remove identified defects, that is, those defects which have been identified by the user. So software assessments attempt to identify practices that can lead to successful outcomes in software projects. The purpose of software assessments, software process assessments, is to look for strengths and weaknesses. It does not propose, that is, the assessment approaches do not propose how to convert weaknesses into strengths or how to remove weaknesses. That is the job of software process improvement program. So we can conversely say that process assessments also seek to identify harmful practices that might lead to delays or unacceptable outcomes. And when that is done, you would have a list of those harmful practices that you want to get rid of and that you don't want to keep them with you and practice them in a manner that is being done at the current time. So as software projects are very labor intensive and require exceptional skills on the part of technical and management personnel, software assessments may also examine the factors that are concerned with hiring and supporting software personnel. And these are, as I mentioned earlier, are side factors or additional factors which I'm going to talk about in a little while. So there are certain key personnel related topics which are also examined while conducting a software process assessment. They include staff hiring practices, staff training and education, management training and education, specialists and occupational groups, compensation levels. Then there is office ergonomics, organizational structures, morale surveys and results, work patterns and overtime, and staff turnover rates. As you can see that these topics are considered additional factors or personnel related factors which perhaps are not considered directly, not considered part of the process improvement, or they're not considered part of the productivity. However, if you take a look at them again, you would realize that compensation level, for example, organization structures, teams, proper maintenance of offices, having ergonomic furniture in the office, contribute significantly to the overall productivity of an individual, as well as the overall productivity of a project team and an organization. So although you do not consider them as technical factors like the areas that I'd mentioned before, which included project management techniques and requirements gathering and analysis techniques and so forth. However, these are, I would say, equally important because they provide you as a professional the ability to focus on your work. If you're worried and if you're not comfortable in your office and you're not adequately trained and you're not adequately paid and you're not properly looked after vis-a-vis the environment of the office, then how can you focus on your work? And that is a very critical factor which is often often not considered in determining the overall productivity of the software organization. As a result, the actual and true picture of the productivity does not emerge. अब हम एक टॉपिक शुरू करते हैं जिसका टाइटल है इंट्रोडक्शन टू some assessment methods. Before we do that, let's talk a little bit about the creativity required or the skill required for software development. It is a largely manual activity. Although we do get some help from tools, the activity of developing software is performed by skilled craftsmen. It is obviously important that the success of software projects requires very capable personnel led by very capable managers. And the contribution of good teams also utilize methods and practices that are known to produce excellent results and should avoid practices that have led to failures. अब हम बात करने लगे हैं assessment methods के ऊपर, तो उसमें एक चीज़ बहुत important है. The software is developed by people, creative people, and so assessment methods should also focus on that. And that is the message that I wanted to give it to you with respect to assessment methods. Let's now take up some of the assessment methods as I mentioned. So first we'll talk about SEI assessment approach. SEI, as you know, is Software Engineering Institute. The SEI assessment data is collected by means of on-site interviews using both standard questions, observations, and information data. तो सबसे पहले जो एक्टिविटी है SEI की assessment में वो ये है कि they gather data through interviews, observations, और फिर उसके नतीजा में वो उसको process करते हैं और the data is analyzed and then a judgment is made in order to determine the maturity level or the capability level of that organization from CMMI's perspective. Although the assessment and maturity level or capability level concepts are considered separately, most people regard the two as the same. Assessment is being able to determine what you are doing and what are your strengths and weaknesses. And capability or maturity levels are a topic or that comes after the assessment is conducted. Formal SEI assessments are performed by the institute itself or an assessor from the institute or by a number of licensed consulting companies, and this is an area which is open to software process improvement or software process professionals, I would say, and they can get certified from Software Institute and get a license to conduct SEI assessments or appraisals. However, organizations can also conduct what is known as the informal SEI style assessments that companies or individuals can perform on their own, and that are done by consultants who are not licensed by the institute but who use assessment approaches documented and published in the SEI, published by the SEI material, and that the documents and papers published by SEI include those kind of information that can be used by the independent consultants and the companies themselves. There's a large body of knowledge which is related to SEI assessment and is available on their website, and a number of technical reports and books are available in the literature. The SEI assessment approach originally dealt with primarily the software processes and methodologies used by very large companies that used large systems. However, they have broadened the set of factors now that can be used under or included in assessment. Software process improvements cannot be successful if they overlook key topics or emphasize one topic or the other. And so that weakness, I would say, is captured in the assessment approach. So the broad range of topics included in Software Institute's programs emphasize that success in software requires being good in many activities, and that's why the breadth of the Software Institute's program and initiatives is an indication that just focusing on one thing, just focusing on management processes or just focusing on technical processes and not worrying about others is not good for the long-term health of the organization, both the technical health or the financial health of the organization. So SCI's assessment literature is available in the market. It is available on their website, and you and I, or an organization or a company, is welcome to and is encouraged to benefit from their literature and their documentations. Let's now talk about the SPR assessment approach. SPR is an organization which provides consulting in quality assurance areas and process improvement areas. The SPR assessment is an interview approach. It's a group activity for each project. For every project, an SPR consultant meets with the project manager and as many as 7 technical members of the technical staff at the same time, no more than that, and an interview is conducted, and all the participants have seen the questionnaires ahead of time. So that means that the questionnaire is sent to all the participants before this interview takes place, and so when they come for the interview, or when the interview meeting is held, they know what sort of information is sought and what kind of information they need to provide to the SPR consultant. The official assessment questionnaire is filled out by the SPR consultant using the group consensus on the source of information. So जब वो 7-8 लोग बैठ के एक कंसल्टेटिव एक मीटिंग करते हैं जिसमें कंसल्टेंट भी मौजूद रहता है, he's or she is asking questions on different topics, different factors, तो उसका जो final agreed upon answers हैं वो document करता है consultant की ये जिम्मेदारी है. Sometimes there will be debate or polarized opinions among the team members, and that is very typical in any human activity. So in that case, a full set of responses is recorded so that the different opinions are documented as well. However, these differences need to be resolved, and before you can proceed with actually determining how the company is performing at that time, how things are being done by the organization. The SPR assessment approach uses structured interviews based on a set of scripted questions. Like forms होते हैं जिसमें पहले से questions लिखे होते हैं. The SPR questionnaire make use of sets of 100 of more than 250 multiple choice questions. यानी कि 250 तक के उनके questions already set हैं जिसमें से they can use up to, let's say, 100, depending on what is the focus of the assessment. Some of the SPR's questions overlap the same topics as the SCI questions. However, the forms are different. That is, the data is gathered differently. वो उनके अलग फॉर्म्स हैं, SPR की और SCI की अलग फॉर्म्स हैं. SPR की assessment के ऊपर हम वापस आते हैं. Once a sample of projects have been analyzed using the questionnaires, the answers to the questions are input directly into a tool that performs a statistical analysis of the results and shows the mean values and standard deviations of all factors. तो एक जो mechanical analysis है वो SPR का assessment में वो tool से हो जाता है, और उसके जो meaningful results या meaningful insights develop करनी है वो फिर consultant का काम होता है. Although strengths are very laudable, the real value of process assessment for most clients is the discovery and the objective analysis of areas in which the client is lagging and needs improvement. And that's what the crux of the objective, crux of the reason why we conduct assessments. जैसा कि मैंने पहले भी बताया था कि assessments जो हैं they are very similar to annual medical checkups. If an individual is healthy and he or she gets a clean bill of health, that's fine and great. But if a person is able to get a detection from the doctor that something is wrong with him or her at a very early stage, then that's the real benefit of that medical or physical examination. So identifying these areas of weaknesses is key to successful software process improvement program, shall I say. And once that assessment is completed, the patterns of strengths and weaknesses observed usually lead to a desire to improve software development process. तो जहाँ आपको आपकी weaknesses पता चल जाएंगी, वहीं पर फिर आप एक therapeutic program या software process improvement initiative start कर सकते हैं, जिससे जो कि बहुत focused होगा. And once you have analyzed and discussed the areas of weaknesses, the client will be in an excellent position to begin that therapeutic program, okay, in our case is a software process improvement program hai, or to cover what is constituted in a software process improvement program. Organizations can follow a 6-stage improvement program. इनके ऊपर अभी हम बात करते हैं. So you can look at the 6-staged process improvement program. The first stage is focus on management technologies. Second is focus on software processes and methodologies. Third is focus on new tools and approaches. Fourth is focus on infrastructure and specialization. Fifth is focus on reusability. And sixth is a focus on industry leadership. अब इन स्टेजेस को हम थोड़ा सा डिस्कस करेंगे, लेकिन इन स्टेजेस से आपको पता लग सकता है कि किस स्टेज के ऊपर आपने फोकस करना है. अगर आपकी प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट की में वीकनेसेस हैं, यू नीड टू फोकस ऑन दैट. अगर आपको प्रोसेसेस या टूल्स में प्रॉब्लम है या वो वीकर एरिया आइडेंटिफाई हुआ है, तो उस पर आप फोकस कर सकते हैं. These 6 stages provide you an overall framework for software process improvement. तो जैसा मैं बता रहा था कि stage 1 जो है, it concentrates on management issues which are critical to all downstream activities. Software process improvement is a fairly expensive undertaking that can stretch for over let's say 3 to 5 years. तो जब आपने commitment करनी है, so you better know what are your weaknesses and what are your strengths. So without conducting an assessment, you would not know that. Unless the management community is state of the art in cost estimation, in value analysis and in risk analysis, funding for process improvement may not be easy to come from the higher management of the organization. So in the first step, the first broader step in constituting a process improvement program after an assessment is to focus on project management technologies. And management needs to be trained in critical technologies such as planning, such as sizing, estimation, such as tracking, such as measurement, such as risk analysis and assessment, and value analysis. Managers are responsible for collecting data on return on investment. Managers collect data that demonstrate progress. तो जैसे मैंने बताया था कि state of the art management technologies, management approaches जो हैं वो institute करना first stage है in any process improvement program. It doesn't matter कि आप कौन सा program use कर रहे हैं, लेकिन these are generic areas जिनके ऊपर आपने focus करना है. Stage 2 of improvement programs involves the introduction of specific process technologies, जिसमें हम formal code and design inspections हैं, इस तरह और जो specific process improvement approaches हैं उनको introduce करना initially at a project level and later on at the organization level. Stage 2 improvements require training and cultural adjustments, but are not very expensive in terms of capital equipment or major investments, क्योंकि आप processes को लेकर आ रहे हैं. मसलन code inspections हैं, design inspections हैं, इनके लिए आपको it's a human activity, इसके लिए आपको training तो provide करनी पड़ेगी, लेकिन you don't necessarily have to buy tools. You don't have to say कि जी I need expensive hardware, expensive software to start formal design or code inspections. So stage 2 is focus on processes and methodologies. Solid approaches for dealing with requirements, design, development, and quality control are introduced here. According to a study, projects that used formal methods at all lagged in terms of productivity, schedules, defect prevention, and defect removal efficiency against projects which used them. So in processes को आप introduce करवाएं, and not much capital investment required. For level stage 3, improvements may involve fairly costly tool suites and capital equipment, such as better workstations, such as better other kinds of software tools. It is important to note that you have introduced tools later than processes, because processes are supported by tools, not vice versa. So you use various tools and explore new advanced technologies. Studies show difference between leading and lagging companies are the use of quality assurance tools, testing tools, and project management tools. So leading companies, best of the class companies have certainly better tools which they use. Then on stage 4, improvements deal with corporate infrastructures. An example of such a change is the establishment of formal quality assurance departments, formal measurement departments, and testing and maintenance departments. So the scope, you can see, has significantly increased at stage 4. Obviously, infrastructure changes are going to be both expensive and complex. They need to be deferred until the value of the previous kinds of changes have started to become obvious. That is, you don't need to rush to stage 4, where your focus is on infrastructure and specialization right away. This stage addresses issues of organizations and specializations and move towards the establishment of specialized teams for handling testing, maintenance, integration, and configuration control. Quality assurance is one such department that you need to introduce here. And you need to develop policies on continuing education, because that's where you would have specialization. Stage 5, the stage 5 improvements are most valuable in terms of improving quality and productivity, but they are also very challenging. Stage 5 move towards a full and formal software reusability program, and as I've said before, reuse is a double-edged sword. If the reusable materials are of top quality, then the reuse has the best positive return on investment of any software methodology, and this has been reported in the literature. However, and this part that I'm going to say now is also reported in the literature, that if the reusable materials are error-prone and filled with defects, then the return of investments of software reuse switches from positive to sharply negative, and that is a very bad thing for an organization, for a project, and overall the reusability approach. So the focus of stage 5 is on reusability. As I said, it has the best ROI of any technology. If the quality of reused material is good and high. But you have to remember that effective reuse is not a game for amateurs. Successful reuse demands state-of-the-art quality control, software measurements, and software management training. So in order for an organization to introduce reusability, it must have these things in place before it can proceed. Stage 6 involves using software excellence for competitive purposes, such as winning a Baldrige Award and using this award to aid in gaining market share. So you want to focus on industry leaderships. You have executives who understand and support software. You have software project managers of exceptional ability. You have software technical staff of exceptional ability. You have more specialists than average organizations. You have better measurements than average organizations. You have better than average customer satisfaction levels. You have better than average staff morale levels, and you have powerful project management tool suites and powerful software development tool suites. So your quality assurance and testing tool suites are very strong and popular, and your powerful tools for managing aging software. तो आज जो हमने डिस्कशन की है वो बेसिकली सॉफ्टवेयर असेसमेंट्स के ऊपर है, सॉफ्टवेयर प्रोसेस असेसमेंट्स के ऊपर है. सॉफ्टवेयर प्रोसेस असेसमेंट्स क्या होती हैं, इनके हमें क्या फ़ायदे हैं, व्हाट आर द पर्पस, व्हाट इज़ द फोकस, और फिर हमने कुछ असेसमेंट मेथडोलॉजीज़ को ब्रीफली टच किया है कि कैसे वो कंडक्ट की जाती हैं, और ये कि सॉफ्टवेयर प्रोसेस असेसमेंट आर नॉट द end in themselves. They are a means to an end, and that end is software process improvement. And जैसा कि मैंने बताया कि generically अगर हम process improvement program को categorize करें तो we would have 6 stages of process improvement. जहाँ project management के ऊपर पहला focus है. सबसे पहले project management activities को हमें ठीक करना पड़ेगा until such time that we become industry leaders in our specific domains. With that, I take leave of you. Thank you very much.